You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Friday, the 13th of October. PM Modi calls for peace amid Israel-Hamas war. Activist raises concern over migrant crisis, terror launch pads in POK. And Afghan families live in tents in Herat street for fear of more quakes. And now for all the details. Amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday said that terrorism anywhere in the world is against humanity and asserted that it is time for peace and brotherhood. Addressing the inaugural session of the 9th G20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit in New Delhi, PM Modi said that we have to remove obstacles in the way of global trust. He also said that consensus not being achieved on the definition of terrorism was saddening. The Prime Minister had earlier this week condemned the attacks by Hamas and reiterated support to Israel.
चाहे कहीं भी होता हो, किसी भी कारण से होता हो, किसी भी रूप में होता है, लेकिन वो मानवता के विरुद्ध होता है। ऐसे में टेररिज्म को लेकर हम सभी को लगातार सख्ती बरतनी ही होगी।
Meanwhile, Speaker of the Canadian Senate Raymond Gagne skipped the presiding officers' summit of parliaments of G20 nations. This comes in the backdrop of souring diplomatic ties after Canada accused India of involvement in the assassination of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. However, India has outrightly rejected the claims, calling them absurd and motivated. Well, the first batch of 212 Indian nationals returned to India from war-hit Israel on Friday as the first chartered flight under India's Operation Ajay touched down in capital New Delhi this morning. Indian government on Wednesday had launched the repatriation operation in response to war between Palestine-based terror group Hamas and the West Asian country Israel, which hosts around 18,000 Indian nationals. The Indian embassy in Israel has said other registered people will depart for the homeland in the subsequent flights.
एक्चुअली सिक्योरिटी बहुत ज़्यादा चलती है, बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी सिक्योरिटी है, तो हम लोग को एक्चुअली डर नहीं लगता क्योंकि इजराइल की सिक्योरिटी बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है। लेकिन ये डर था कि कहीं कुछ हो जाए, कहीं कोई टेररिस्ट अटैक आ जाए, ऐसा कुछ है तो थोड़ा डर जाते हैं हम लोग। थोड़ा मतलब अब अपने देश आके एकदम से शांति मिल रही है, बट हम लोग बहुत डर गए थे। पहली बार सायरन सुनना कुछ अलग ही एक्सपीरियंस था।
As you know, today is the first flight of Operation Vijay, and this is completely in keeping with our Prime Minister's vision, Prime Minister's determination that our government, his government, will never leave any Indian behind. Any Indian anywhere in the world that finds himself or herself in harm's way, our government, our Prime Minister is determined to protect them, bring them back home safely.
Also in a similar operation, 254 Nepali nationals also arrived in Kathmandu early on Friday. The remaining 249 citizens who have registered with the Nepali embassy will return in subsequent flights. However, repatriation of the dead bodies of 10 Nepali students who were killed in attacks by Hamas will take much longer time due to legal process, Nepal's Foreign Minister N.P. Sodh said. Israel and Hamas are engaged in a deadly battle after the latter conducted a deadly incursion in Israeli territory. Israel, in retaliation, has pounded the Gaza Strip, which hosts the designated terror organization. A ground offensive measure by Israel is also looming the Hamas-controlled territory as Israel mobilizes tanks and military vehicles near the southern borders. Moving on, 2 days after one of India's most wanted terrorists, Shahid Latif, was killed in Pakistan's Punjab province, a top police official has alleged the involvement of a foreign intelligence agency behind the killing. In a presser, Punjab Police Chief Usman Anwar said the attack was planned outside Pakistan as part of a conspiracy against the state, the Dawn News reported. He said the investigating agency is in contact with the Foreign Office, which will soon name the country behind the killing. A top commander of Jaish-e-Mohammed terror outfit, Shahid Latif, was the handler of the 6 terrorists involved in 2016 Pathankot airbase attack. He was killed on October 11th by unknown gunmen in Pakistan's Sialkot, where he was residing following his release from an Indian jail in 2010 as part of the UPA government's effort to repair ties with Pakistan. And Kashmiri activist Junaid Qureshi has raised concern over the migrant crisis in POK due to Islamabad's repressive policies, while it also continues to breed terrorism in the region. A report. Junaid Qureshi, the director of European Foundation for South Asian Studies during the UNHRC session in Geneva, raised the issue of migrant crisis in POK due to Pakistan's economic crisis and repressive policies. He highlighted the Crease migrant boat disaster in which more than 300 Pakistanis and 135 people from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir lost their lives while they were heading to Europe illegally for a better future. He said lack of jobs and basic infrastructure in POK has fueled a sense of deprivation, while Pakistan continues to treat the region as a colony.
300 people of Pakistan paid this kind of money. And this is one instance we know of because the boat capsized, running away from their own country because they have absolutely no avenues. Look at the currency rate of the Pakistani rupee. It's in a spiral downfall.
Qureshi also raised concern over Pakistan's sponsorship of terrorism as a policy and cross-border attacks in India's Jammu and Kashmir by terror groups, which enjoy a safe haven on the Pakistani soil.
As a matter of fact, terrorism in the country is still being cultivated. There have been recently attacks in Jammu and Kashmir, in Kokarnag. Two of those terrorists were from Pakistan-administered Jammu and Kashmir. They were trained in mainland Pakistan. At the same time, you also see that people under shabby house arrest, the Masood Azhars, the Sayyid Salahuddins, the Hafiz Sayyids, all of them are still there.
Nearly a week after earthquakes and aftershocks struck Afghanistan's western province of Herat, some residents are still living in tents outdoors due to fear of more quakes. Multiple earthquakes destroyed entire villages in the war-torn country, which has long relied on foreign aid that has dried up since the Taliban took over in 2021. Families are since then living in tents as they say their homes are not strong enough to encounter earthquakes.
از روزی که اولین زلزله شد ساعت 5 غروب مدت 5-6 روز میشه که این خانواده هم اومدن به اینجا اسکان گزین شدن و چون که خانواده اینا اونقدر مقاوم نیه از ترس زلزله اینا اومدن به اینجا سکونت گزیدن.
حال اجازه دوال بشدم همین زلزله افتادم من رفتم دارم ناجورم افتادم مرکز کرده بچه آوردم. چهار فامیلی همه بچه خوددار بیوزنی هم بچه دارم شله همین تکلیف داریم دیگه هیچی کسی به ما سیدی نکرد پیرجو.
Also, 8 agencies have launched fresh appeals for funds to deal with the fallout from the earthquakes. Afghanistan has faced crippling cuts in the 2 years since the Taliban took over, and much international assistance, which had formed the backbone of the economy, was halted. The fisheries sector in India's Jammu and Kashmir is witnessing a boom and providing employment to a lot of youngsters who are setting up their own trout fish farms with government assistance. The fisheries sector in India's Jammu and Kashmir is witnessing a boom with a large number of people setting up their own trout fish farms with the government's help. Abdul Rauf from Katua, who got 6,000 fish seeds under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, has reaped huge profits. The fish cost around 500 to 1,000 rupees per kg in the open market. Apart from seed and feed, the Fisheries Department is also providing farmers assistance in funding.
जो स्कीम की थी का जो वो था वो हमें इन्होंने फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट दिया है तो पिछले साल हमने तकरीबन 9,000 के करीब जो है फ़िश सीड जो है डाला है तो इसमें बहुत सारा बेनिफिट अभी हुआ मुझे तकरीबन 2-2.5-3 लाख के करीब जो है मैंने अभी तक जो है बेची है तो बाकी अभी तक मेरे पास अवेलेबल तकरीबन 10-12 क्विंटल जो है अभी फ़िश जो है मेरे पास अवेलेबल है.
Trout fishing is also one of the great tourist attractions in Kashmir Valley, and it is known as an angler's paradise due to the abundance of the fish.
ये सारे यूनिट फिशरी डिपार्टमेंट की एक मैं बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट मानता हूँ कि जो यहाँ पे हुई है, क्योंकि ये एक तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट दे रहा है, एक लाइवलीहुड और इनकम का साधन है यहाँ के यूथ को.
Well, that's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time next week. Have a great weekend. Good night.